Hey guys, so today I'm going to review a few Batman books I've accumulated over the past few weeks. I've gotten a few new books, but I'm trying to isolate them into categories and maybe do different themed reviews. So today will be my Batman one. All the books I'm going to review today aren't necessarily Batman per se, but it's sort of Bat family people. So the books I'm going to go over today are Batgirl Volume 1, The Darkest Reflection, Batman the Dark Knight, Golden Dawn, Nightwing Year 1, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, and Batman Detective by Paul Dini. So, I think I'll start with... I'm going to start with Gotham by Gaslight. I got this book a few weeks ago. It was just sitting at Half Price Books, which is awesome because I've been actually looking for it for a while. But this book is split up into two stories. The first story has to do with Jack the Ripper, and the second one has to do with the World Fair and this villain with a blimp who's trying to destroy it. But I'm going to start with the first one. So the main thing that drew me to this book was this takes Batman and puts him in the Victorian era, so he lacks all the modern advancements that we're so used to seeing with Batman today. He has no technology, no Batmobile, no Bat family, no Robin, etc., etc. So it's really just him in sort of a primal form of Batman, really just relying on his skills and his own knowledge. And it's taken even further in the first story. The first story has to do with Jack the Ripper, and he's transitioned from London to Gotham for some reason, and everyone's trying to figure out why. But of course, since he moved to Gotham, that leads to more serial killing, more mutilated bodies on the street. But what makes it so interesting is that they pin it on Bruce Wayne. So in addition to him lacking all the modern day things that we would usually see, he's put into prison and he's only dependent on whatever he hears and whatever he can get himself. So you really see him focusing in on his knowledge and using his own detective skills and everything like that to get himself out of this mess, which is sort of refreshing, seeing him just doing everything by himself. There's no help from anyone, no internet, which we're so accustomed to. So seeing him accomplish that task, discover who it is, break out, and also at the same time battling his dual identity. He's really doubtful of whether or not he wants to continue being Batman. So this predicament sort of forces him to choose, does he want to be Batman forever, or does he want to really grow to be Bruce Wayne? And which presents another problem because compared to other books, this one's special because he has a fiancée named Julie in this book. Okay, I feel like I'm just throwing you guys everywhere. But, so he has a fiancée named Julie, and she's sort of infatuated with Batman, and she doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So it's sort of a funny position that Bruce is in. His fiancée has this crush on his Batman persona, but then she's engaged to Bruce Wayne. So it sort of pushes him forward into deciding who he wants to be and if it's for a good cause and all of that, especially having such a strong support right next to him. So I really enjoyed that. Of course he's not Jack the Ripper. I don't know if I should spoil it for you, but he's not Jack the Ripper. And then the second story, like I said, they're at the World's Fair, which I'm sure you guys know is just sort of this big fair that I don't know if they still do it actually, where they bring all the new discoveries and inventions and scientific knowledge all together, and everyone just chats and is astounded all the time. So there's this villain who has this blimp, and he's threatening to destroy the fair and destroy Gotham unless they meet his demands. And this is crazy because they've never had any airships before, so him, this giant blimp, is just sort of mystifying all of Gotham and really scaring everyone, especially because he has bombs and missiles, which, again, they're not used to an air threat. So Batman being thrown in front of technology he doesn't know, again, he has to compensate for his loss of knowledge, for his inexperience with these kinds of things. So seeing him thrown in that, again, it pushes him stronger. I don't know, it pushes him more to being Batman because he realizes people do need him. And he even saves his fiancée at one point in his Batman costume, and that's when she realizes he's Bruce Wayne. Oh, I might have spoiled it. Oh well. But yeah, so this book overall I really enjoyed because of the Victorian era, because I don't know why I really like that. But because of that, and also because he has to focus on himself, he doesn't have any help that we're so used to. And seeing him become that kind of normal Batman, normal person, just in a different costume, was cool to see. That summary probably sucked, but it's a really good book. Read it. Okay, next book I'm going to review. I think I'll do Nightwing Year One. Okay, so I think, I looked this book up, and I think it's out of print, so if you want to read this, I think you have to do the single issues, but I'm not sure unless you want to pay a little bit more. But this book is by Chuck Dixon, who also did the Robin Year One and Batgirl Year One, which I really enjoyed. So when I found out that he's the same author of this one, I had I had really high expectations for it. I was expecting a lot out of it because I really like how he took Robin and Batgirl's origin stories. So, I heard you guys don't like Nightwing, but I don't know, I've always been a fan of all the Robins, and he was my favorite because he's the first, and I just really enjoy his character, so seeing him transition between Robin to Nightwing was cool to see in written form, because I don't know how to explain it. Well, I've never really read a Nightwing origin story. I just know because of you guys and the internets and other stories and whatever. But seeing him actually do it, and discovering what kind of hero he wants to be by himself, I really enjoyed it. I've heard a lot of different things, like Batman fired him, or he quit on his own, or the Teen Titans took him, whatever. But in this book, Batman fired him because he was saying that he needs Robin to be with him all the time rather than dabbling in Teen Titan business and his own business and blah blah blah. So he's fired, and Dick Grayson doesn't know what to do, so he's off on a mission to really discover who he is and what he wants to do next. So he visits Superman, and of course he has to go back to Haley's Circus and really figure himself out. But then also at the same time, Jason Todd is being recruited by Batman to become the new Robin. So he's also facing sort of a mini him, which makes him again redoubt his whole history with Batman and what he wants to do next. So overall, this book is really good if you like seeing Jason Todd and Dick Grayson. Jason Todd sort of does annoy me at points, and in this book he was okay though. He was just sort of a street smart kid, a tough kid, and that's okay. Like, it makes him a really good Robin in that way. He's completely different than the first one. Even though I know later on it's not in his favor, I still think it's a cool beginning. And another thing I really liked about this, so like I said, Chuck Dixon, I just found out he wrote the other ones. I looked more into his backstory, and I didn't know he was such a prominent comic book writer. I'm going to have to look out for him now. But another thing I really enjoyed about this book was the use of old language, old English that he put into it. There's a lot of old slang like tennies instead of sneakers, and he even put a Hemingway quote in here, which I thought was really cool. Because I imagine this time not to be recent, definitely not as old as Hemingway kind of time, but seeing an older kind of language with this story I thought was really cool. It made it more historical in a way, which, okay, that sounds weird. It makes it more historical because I guess now we see him as Nightwing, this evolved Nightwing, and so seeing him in an older story with older language, and especially he did a nod to the old Batman show, if I can find it. But yeah, it was really interesting to see. I started using interesting a lot, haven't I? Meh. Okay, let me try to find, hold on. Oh, here we go. A lot of old nods to Batman and Robin, which was cool. So yeah, okay, next book. Good book. Read it if you like Nightwing. Okay, the next book, I'll go over Batman the Dark Knight, Golden Dawn. So, I've never heard of this book before. When I saw it at the bookstore, I just sort of grabbed it because I looked on the back and I saw Etch again, so I thought I had to have it. And I also really like the art style. It was funny because, side story, so like you guys know, I go to Half Price Books, So now they're starting to recognize me, and whenever I pass by the back counter near the books that haven't been shelved yet, they just sort of bring out all the DC books because they know I mainly go for that. So it was really cool. He found me and gave me this one. So this story has to do with this socialite named Dawn Golden being kidnapped, and it's more personal for Batman though because he used to know her when he was a child, and she also broke up with him in college, so he definitely has a personal vendetta in this story. He's definitely doing it to save her and sort of unite Gotham again because Gotham's just going crazy for some reason over the socialite. But so the personal vendetta that he has, it does bring a lot to it because he's definitely more eager to find her, more violent than he usually is. He snaps Penguin's arm really quickly, like right off the bat, right in the beginning of questioning, and I think breaks some ribs and stuff. But you see his urge to find her is more based on his history with her rather than just for the common good. But then, of course, there has to be some twists into it. So rather than her being kidnapped for the usual means like money or fame or love or whatever, she's kidnapped because of her father's occult past. He was this big cult person, he was really involved in dark magic, and she was actually born just to sustain his own life and to lengthen his life, sort of like Ra's al Ghul in a way. He's using his daughter to immortalize himself, and that's why she's always been this sulky, depressive child, and that's sort of why Bruce is drawn to her. At first he thinks it's weird, but he's eventually drawn to it. And that that paranormal touch shows up when someone starts killing homeless people. Just a string of homeless people are dying. And then Etrigan steps in because he realizes there's a demon involved, which is Ragman, who I didn't know was a demon. I only know him from Shadow Pact days when he's like a human, so I need to research that too. But it was cool seeing him as a demon because he was way more bloodthirsty than in Shadow Pact form. But, okay, back to the story. So Etrigan shows up, and a bunch of demons show up, and then you later find out that Dawn was kidnapped and was made to service her father's immortality, and I don't know if I should end it there to not spoil it. But at the end, okay, I was surprised by the ending, but I wasn't satisfied with it. I was surprised by it, but it was good. It was just not something that I think tied up nicely. It was good because I wasn't expecting it for sure, but I don't know. I really enjoyed everything, especially because it had the dark magic stuff, so the ending was just sort of a quick tie together to me. But what are you gonna do? And at the end there's a short story that I think I haven't read Batman Incorporated, but I think is sort of a prequel to the New 52 storyline in the beginning. So at least I have that now, so I have more of a backstory if I ever start Batman Incorporated. But yeah, as to the main story, it was good. I just wish it was a bit longer. I feel like if they added a few more pages to really explain the story a bit more and to see where it goes from there, it would have made it more solid. But overall, good book. If you like this kind of art, ooh, epic picture, and you like just a plain old well, not really plain old, huh? A paranormal kidnapping story, get this. It's good. Just not as good as I hoped it would be. But anyways, okay, last two books. I think I will do Batgirl first. Batgirl Volume 1, Darkest Reflection. So I briefly mentioned this in the last video, I think, Mainstream Comic Book Tag, that I enjoyed it, and I did. So this story I really liked because it was her between the wheelchair and resituating herself as Batgirl. So she has a lot of real fears in this, a lot of real paranoia that we would experience too if we were ever severely injured like she was. She's constantly battling her doubts as to becoming Batgirl again. She wants to do it, she just doesn't know if she can do it. So she's constantly pushing herself and pushing herself. And there's other Bat characters who show up too, like Nightwing and Bruce Wayne, who are there to remind her that she needs to pace herself. If she's starting too early, she could severely damage the rest of her life and maybe ruin this miracle that she's given. But she decides that she needs to back away from them to really determine herself if she can or can't do it. And although, of course, she continues being Batgirl as we see the rest of the New 52, there's a few times in here where I thought she would just go back to being the Oracle, because she is trying to push herself, but I'm afraid she was trying too hard to really just force herself to be Batgirl again rather than ease herself in. And you see those doubts show up with the very first villain she encounters. Is his name Mirror or something? I forgot that guy's name, but his whole gimmick is mirrors and showing people that they only have one chance at life and that sometimes they don't deserve it. So this is just a perfect villain matchup with Barbara at this time. Her doubting herself and seeing if her accident and her miracle were destined or if she was just lucky. So I enjoyed this because she's real in this. I know you guys probably understand the kinds of books I like now. If the person is very personal person, I don't know, that sounds weird. If the character of a story is realistic and they have real problems that I can relate to, I think I'm definitely gonna like the character more. Of course, there's times where I just want to see action and violence and blood and stuff, and in those cases I don't really care to find myself in those characters, but with Barbara, I don't know, I feel like she definitely needs a backstory, especially after the accident and after Killing Joke, all of that. She needed this book to really reestablish herself as a Batgirl and convince herself that she's meant to be Batgirl again. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. You should read it if you haven't read Batgirl. But yeah, I need to get the second volume. I saw the third volume the other day, but I didn't want to get it without reading whatever happened to the second one, because I'm not sure. But anyways, that's Batgirl. So the last book is Batman Detective by Paul Dini. I'll be honest, I've never heard of this book before. The main reason I got this is because it says Paul Dini on it. And whenever I think Paul Dini, I think Zatanna. And I wasn't disappointed. She makes a really brief cameo in this book. Too brief for my taste, but it's not about her, so I understand. This story, or this book, is a collection of little vignettes of Batman's. Just pure Batman detective stories. For example, in the first one, he's dealing with this new crime group who targets the rich and elite of Gotham. And then the second one, it has to deal with this girl who is murdered and Bruce knows her. Hold on, sorry. Nope. Okay, so the second story has to deal with another socialite. Not like Golden Dawn. This is completely different. It's shorter and way less detailed. But it has to deal with a socialite being murdered who people think Bruce thought, I don't know, everyone thinks Bruce killed someone, apparently, but he didn't kill her, of course, and he has to deal with that. But my favorite story, the one I'm probably going to focus on the most out of this whole book, was the Poison Ivy story. First of all, I just really enjoyed the art in this book. The way they drew Poison Ivy, very seductive, of course, but also just because I really enjoy how they drew Robin, too, because he just looks adorable and young and naive. And then also Batman is really cool too. He has those long pointy ears rather than the short stunty ones, which I think are cool. So in this story, the reason, although if it was longer again and they had more time to explain, I think it would have been an even better story, but I liked it because they pitted Poison Ivy against her best friend, which is plants. So there's this one plant who's just bent on destroying Poison Ivy and ripping her apart, and they're trying to figure out who it is or if someone stole her research and is trying to mimic her solution and stuff like that. But she's basically in Batman's care until then because he's protecting her. But then later, okay, spoiler, I'm probably just going to give this little story away. Later you find out it's Harvest that's attacking her, which is a plant being that is sort of a big accommodation of the souls she's killed. So it's just cool to see the dynamic between Poison Ivy versus a plant enemy, because she's usually the master of the plants, she's usually in charge of all of that. So seeing her being frightened of a plant, which is her gimmick, was really, really different. I'm not sure if they've done anything like that before, they probably have, but this is the first story I've encountered where Poison Ivy has plant problems. And yeah, that in combination with the art made this my favorite story of the book. So yeah, if you just enjoy regular Batman detective stories, not huge events or anything like that, just something short and satisfies your Batman thirst, then I would get this. I think this might be out of print too, so you might have to look harder for it, or maybe they have single issues out there, I'm not really sure, but look online, Amazon should have it, or just check out Half Price Books. So yeah, okay, those are all the books I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the reviews. Next, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. I have a bunch of books to read still, which I'm happy about, but also not too happy about because there's a lot. But, okay, that's going to be the end of it. I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and bye!